Today, we're just going to do a nice overview of managing PCOS symptoms through lifestyle nutrition. I'm Brittany. I am one of the dietitians at On Point, and you might have seen my face in some of the advertisements for our PCOS group, which I will be reviewing at the end of this webinar. So a little bit about On Point, just to get started. We're an online nutrition counseling company, and we're really just committed to helping people improve their health, build a better relationship with food through these one-on-one calls that we have with clients. And we're always looking at holistic approaches, science-backed approaches to ditching diet culture and diet mentality and just living your best life. So if you're not an On Point client, this is a little bit about us. You can find out more at our website on www.onpoint-nutrition.com. And again, I'll have some more details at the end if you're interested in On Point. But a little bit about me. If you're not one of my clients in here, you're probably wondering, who is this girl? Why is she qualified to be talking about this stuff? So I am a registered dietitian. I also have a master's of science in nutrition. And I've spent my entire career really helping people achieve their ultimate health and wellness goals. And I've been practicing for almost six plus years by now. And truthfully, PCOS is one of my, we could call them specialties, even though everyone on the team can, talk to and counsel PCOS clients. It's one that's near and dear to my heart. So I have a lot of PCOS clients, and I've worked very closely with women who have PCOS because I used to work in an OBGYN clinic. I was the only dietitian there. So I've certainly been around PCOS for a while, even though it's relatively new disease, as I'm sure all of you joining in know. But really, I love helping my clients become more confident, happier versions of themselves. Like, the reason why we want to eat healthier, live healthier, is just to be happy. That's the ultimate goal. So that's just a little bit about me. My Instagram handle, in case you're curious, Linn Nutrition. So yeah, if you're liking this content, you can follow me as well. Always posting some positive stuff. But enough of the introductions. Let's get into why you've actually joined, which is to learn a little bit more about PCOS and whether it be just like the science of PCOS, how food can help with symptoms, how managing lifestyle and wellness habits can help with symptoms. This is what we're here to talk about today. So a little bit of an overview, right? What is PCOS? I'm not going to assume that everyone on the call knows, so I'm just going to start with the basics. Polycystic ovary or ovarian syndrome. It's really a hormonal condition that develops in women and girls of reproductive age, which has a broad age range if we're looking at like what is reproductive age, but it can be treated. There's no cure right now. And through my research, as I've been looking more closely at PCOS, I've come to find that it is a relatively new disease in modern medicine, but it was discovered a very long time ago. During, I believe it was like the Roman Empire, like they had written about like some sort of disease along these lines, and researchers believe it was PCOS. So it's new for us, but not quite new in the history of medicine. And several hormones are either overproduced or underproduced in women who have PCOS. And as we know, there can be a variety of symptoms that are associated with that. Some of the major hormones that are affected are the androgens, so testosterone. We also have insulin is affected, as well as progesterone. So I'm going to go through these in a little bit of detail today, but again, today is just an overview and how to manage some of these symptoms. But most women with PCOS lead normal lives without any major complications, and they're able to minimize symptoms with a variety of treatments, including lifestyle changes. A lot of times that is the first line of defense, medically speaking, along with potentially small dose of medication. But really these lifestyle changes, as you'll see, can make a huge difference in symptom management. And I should say too, if questions come up, you can post them in the chat. I'll probably answer them all in bulk at the end, but if something comes up in your mind, like please type it out. And I won't say your last name because we're going to be HIPAA compliant here. So no worries, I won't call you out if you have, a question that you don't want to be attached to. So obviously we know that symptoms vary among women. Some people have multiple of these common symptoms. Some people have none. Some people it's only weight. Some people it's only acne, but these are really the common symptoms of PCOS. So I'm not going to read through every single one, but in my clients that I work with, a lot of times we're working with acne. We're working with frequent mood changes, fatigue, weight gain, especially around the midsection or just in general. And those are the main things that I typically see with clients, and that a lot of the lifestyle changes that we work on can help to resolve. So one thing I do want to note, that if you're not sure if you have PCOS and you've joined in on this webinar, if you're experiencing any of these symptoms, talk to your doctor. Your doctor can take some specific tests to confirm if you do have PCOS or if it's something else. And then once you're diagnosed with the condition, you really want to work with your doctor and a dietitian to continue living a life that is your best life, that feels good to you, and what we might call a normal life. So yes, some of these symptoms are associated with PCOS, and each of them probably has a lot of subsets, but these are like the main things that we typically see. So now we're going to get into nutrition for PCOS. So I'm sure everyone has kind of heard the saying, maybe it's not a saying. I was going to say you are what you eat, but that's not the saying I'm going for. I'm sure everyone has heard that like food has such a huge effect on whether it be weight, mood, sleep patterns, fatigue, all of that kind of thing. And it's no different in women who have PCOS. So we want to be really specific about the type of foods we're eating, the content. We want to be specific about the timing and having a variety of foods. And I'm also not forgetting the mental health aspect that food plays a role in. So all of these things are what we're going to be looking at, whether it's a one-on-one client at On Point or in our PCOS group, which I will go over in a few slides. But I want to go through each of these categories and just kind of explain like why it's important. Because we've all heard like, yes, a balanced diet, lean protein, but we don't know why we're going to be way less motivated to actually include these things in our day. So the first thing that you want to include, first food group that you want to include in your diet, especially if you have PCOS, is that lean protein. So lean protein is really meat or poultry or plant-based protein that's low in fat. And it really does help to keep you fuller longer. It also gives you energy, and it can help some of these hormones to function properly because the amino acids in protein have a lot of building blocks for everything in the body, including your hormones. So some examples, like I said, and I probably shouldn't point here, it's distracting. Some examples of these lean proteins could be like type of fish, a lean fish, poultry, so turkey breast, and then plant-based proteins like beans, tofu, tempeh, anything on that list. And these are just examples. The list is a lot bigger. In addition, we want to pay attention especially to complex carbohydrates. So when we're looking at hormones that tend to be dysregulated in women who have PCOS, insulin is one of the major offenders, so to speak. So carbohydrates are what either raises, when you eat carbohydrates, it either raises your blood sugar, or if you don't have enough, it can lower your blood sugar. But we really just want to find that happy medium because it also gives you energy. It's the #1 source of fuel for your brain. So all of these things are really important to think about when you're choosing what type of carbohydrates you're going to eat. So obviously, and I'll read from the slide as well, carbohydrates that are complex, meaning they're full of fiber, they're going to lower insulin levels because they take longer to digest. And they also help fight inflammation in the body, which is another kind of key word that women who have PCOS might be hearing, is like this anti-inflammation diet and like trying to get your body to not be inflamed. Eating a diet that's rich in all of these things listed on this slide is going to help you to get there. And so some examples of complex carbohydrates: whole grains, quinoa, oats, brown rice, anything that says whole grain or like brown, that's brown in color. And I can't, now it's leaving my mind, the other thing that's written on bread. It's either whole grain or something else, but if it's brown in color, that means it's a complex carbohydrate. Also beans, peas, and lentils. And then we have potatoes, especially with the skin, great in your complex carbohydrates, high in fiber, and will give you tons and tons of energy. And I know I had mentioned complex carbohydrate timing is very, very important. So like I said, it's your body's first kind of line of defense as far as energy goes. So eating it earlier in the day will help your body to kind of regulate your blood sugar more easily, because you're moving during the day, you're kind of using those carbohydrates instead of them sitting there, raising your blood sugar and not being utilized. So carbohydrate timing is very important when we're looking at nutrition for PCOS as well. Additionally, antioxidant-rich fruit and veggies, always helpful for everybody, but when we look at the anti-inflammatory properties of these foods, it's especially important. So anything that's bright in color, so greens, reds, purples, we're talking like berries, kiwi, almost, I mean, I can't think of one fruit or vegetable that's not anti-inflammatory. So, you know, eating these is super, super important. And it can also help to give you energy and fiber and all the things that we want to feel more energized in the day. And then finally, heart-healthy fats. So these are, of course, a necessity in hormone production. So the fats and the proteins, but more so the fats, really do help in hormone production if you're low in something, and it can help with regulation if you're a little bit high or dysregulated in a certain hormone as well. But it can also aid in vitamin absorption and obviously improve heart health and brain function. It also helps to keep you fuller longer. So fats, and I know there's been like a lot in the media as far as like the keto diet goes, or as far as low fat goes, but having these heart healthy fats in a moderate amount is like typically just what the clients that I see, at least women with PCOS, do well with. So a heart healthy fat is typically monounsaturated fat, and that really just falls in the category of avocados, olive oil, walnuts, and certain types of seeds like chia and flax seeds. But just having a healthy dose of fat within your day can be extremely helpful in helping you to manage, whether it just be hunger and fullness or hormone levels and your insulin levels as well. So anyone have questions so far? Everyone's very quiet. I know I'm going pretty intense on the information piece. And if everyone's good, I can keep going. But I am going to take a sip of water. Okay, so we actually do have a question, and I'm going to stay on this slide for it. So someone's asking about the best foods to eat together. I think that's what you're asking. So the best foods to eat together, typically I tell clients to pair either a fruit or a complex carbohydrate with a protein or fat. And what that really does, it gives you energy from the fruit or carbohydrate, and then it slows your digestion from the fat or protein. A lot of times these come in the form of snacks, and they can be timed around exercise so that you can either have the fuel that you want or the recovery that you want. So pairing carbohydrate-rich foods, which would be complex carb or fruit, with a protein or fat, like apple with peanut butter, yogurt with berries, a piece of toast with avocado on top. These are great like pairings. So hopefully that helps to answer your question. But yeah, That's a great question. So let me go to my next slide. All right, so let's get into a little bit more detail as far as vitamins and minerals go for symptom relief. So we're going to start with selenium, and some of these might be like things you've heard before, things you haven't heard of before. And obviously there's more vitamins and minerals that can be helpful, but these are really the top 5 that we found can be helpful for clients. So selenium is actually an essential element, and it helps to fight against that antioxidant stress. So women with PCOS are shown to have lower levels of selenium, likely because the inflammation is higher in their bodies at times. So eating foods with selenium or taking a supplement, but I always like to start with food, is a really great way to increase your selenium levels. So as far as selenium goes, the listed foods here are super helpful as far as a great source of selenium goes. So you can see this on the list here. I'm not going to read every single food here. And I see someone's writing some questions in the chat. I promise I'm going to get to those in a couple slides. I see them. So next one, and you probably heard of this, it's kind of a buzzword right now. It's kind of like a buzz supplement, if you will, insodazole or B8. It helps with insulin resistance, and it can help to decrease some of those androgens, the androgen production in your body. So there are foods that have B8, but potentially not a high enough amount to make changes. So I would talk to your doctor about an insodazole supplement, which tends to help with a lot of PCOS symptoms as well. Another vitamin and mineral for symptom relief would be iodine. So this can really help with thyroid function. And if you don't know, your thyroid really helps to regulate a multitude of hormones in your body. So having sufficient iodine in your body is really important for that reason. So again, the foods listed here are super high in iodine. And women with PCOS, surprise, surprise, they tend to be lower in iodine as well. Next one, vitamin D. So women in general tend to be low in vitamin D. Actually, humans in general tend to be low in vitamin D, but especially in PCOS, we see that vitamin D deficiency can lead to insulin resistance and obesity, and it can also affect menstrual frequency in some women. So there are foods with vitamin D in them, but most people find it most helpful to take a supplement. And then lastly, we have magnesium. So this can be deficient actually from medications or a diet that's high in processed foods, and it can really lead to insulin resistance. So magnesium, we got avocados, dark chocolate, all kinds of good things in there. But I think what you'll find by looking at this slide is that like all of the foods that have these vitamins and minerals in them are the same foods that are on the previous slide, which lists having a varied diet, antioxidant rich fruits and vegetables, lean proteins. It all kind of overlaps, which is really helpful when we're looking at making lifestyle changes. So next, I'm going to talk about exercise, and then I'm going to take a quick pause and I can answer questions. So really quick, there are some better and not so great workouts as we're looking at hormone regulation in women with PCOS. So some of the best workouts tend to be strength training, occasional HIIT workout, which means high intensity training, but not every day, yoga, honestly, for the mental health aspect, for the calming of that cortisol, which can get high if you work out just incessantly. And then some steady state cardio. So taking long walks, long moderate paced bike rides, or, at home, if you have a Peloton or a stationary bike, moderate pace, not like going crazy on every ride. These tend to really be the best because if we're looking at a hormone that's called cortisol, this can leave you with an inflammatory effect in your body if it's not regulated properly. So whether you have PCOS or not, this hormone does affect a lot of people. Additionally, some exercises to stay away from would be intense cardio all the time. So a cardio heavy routine. We want to stay away from an intense Peloton ride every day or running outside an hour every day, because that's going to increase cortisol levels. Additionally, skipping recovery days, not helpful, and repeated workouts, also not going to challenge your body or help your body to kind of learn new muscles that it can use. And if you don't confuse your body, it's really just going to stay where it's at. So yeah, I know I'm like, again, going super fast, but there's so much information to share with everyone. Before I move on to talk about our PCOS support group, what questions do we have? I know we have one in the chat now, which I'm going to answer. But anyone else with questions, type them in and I'll take a look. Okay, so we have someone talking about really trying to lose weight with PCOS. So this is kind of tends to be the main issue for women, not the main issue, but one of the bigger issues for women who have PCOS is like, how do I lose weight? What do I do? And the best and worst answer is it's really, really individualized. So looking at your stress levels, your sleep, your diet patterns, all of these types of things can play a role in weight loss. And if you haven't gotten your hormones checked, your insulin levels checked, that's where I would start, because then we can see, what we need to do. If we do need to change labs or it is lifestyle related, we can certainly start from there. But I wish it was an easy answer. It's not, but there are definitely some solutions, lifestyle wise, diet wise, and truthfully stress wise, which I definitely go over a lot in the group. As I was kind of creating this group, I didn't shy away from talking about mental health and sleep and self-care, which can really like keep weight on, honestly, if you're chronically feeling kind of that high cortisol, that like high inflammation all the time. So next question, we have someone asking about carb timing. Any other things you should know about timing? In this presentation, I tried to keep it pretty simple. But if you can put most of your carbohydrates early on in the day and have less at night, meaning like one serving, so like a half a cup of rice, a half a cup of pasta, or just some fruit after dinner, your blood sugar levels, and that just means anyone in general, their blood sugar levels will regulate in a more safe way than spiking in the night when you're not doing anything and you can't use those carbohydrates effectively. But meal timing is really, I tell people like 2 hours before bed as a rule of thumb, and that's really for digestive purposes. So just to give kind of your system a break, stop eating 2 hours before bed. But if you're actually like hungry, you should eat something. Ideally, it won't be a carbohydrate, but that's kind of like my 2 cents on timing. But it really depends on your schedule too. Sorry, I'm grabbing a tissue. How embarrassing. So someone's asking, would Zumba be considered a heavy, something that's cardio heavy? And what I'd have to say is it really depends on how much you feel like you're huffing and puffing. Like if you can have a conversation, then it would be kind of like a low heart rate zone. If you can have a conversation, but it's a little tough, that would be moderate. And then really like unable to breathe, like unable to talk, would be high. So if you're in that low to moderate zone throughout your Zumba class, that would be still like a great like steady state cardio. But then I would throw in some resistance training as well. So hopefully that helps answer that question. So next, I do want to go over our On Point Nutrition PCOS group. So if you kind of are into the vibe here today, I will be leading a PCOS support group. Doors are already open. So if you want to get your application in, you can go to our website. And then I'm also going to put a link in in the chat here for everybody to click and take a look. But it's going to be a 10-week program. You get all the materials that you need. You get access to me and our app. And then every other week is going to be a Zoom-based support group. And every week we're going to have different topics. And you can look a little in a little bit more detail by clicking on the link, which I will put in the chat, just to see kind of what we're going to dive into. And really the main purpose is to connect women with other women who are experiencing the same symptoms, experiencing the same troubles, and how to kind of break free from that. And so we're going to have obviously just basics of PCOS, nutrition, meal planning, exercise, self-care, a lot about hormones and more specifics there. And then really looking at self-care, mindful eating, really how you can integrate these changes holistically in your life. So if this is something that you'd be interested in, I will put some more information in the chat as well. And then finally, I kind of put this slide in if I had some extra time, but some frequently asked questions that I get a lot, and I know other members of the team get, are these top 3 questions. So I'm not going to read everything in detail just because of time, but some health risks for women with PCOS tend to be as a whole, cardiovascular issues, metabolic issues, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, that type of thing. And there can be a risk of endometrial cancer as well. And many women do experience depression and sleep issues, which again are lifestyle changes that we can address. Some people ask, what is insulin resistance? So insulin resistance is a condition where your body cells don't respond correctly to insulin release. And what insulin does is really lowers your blood sugar. It converts glucose into energy in your body. If it's not working properly, the glucose from carbohydrates and other things that you eat kind of stay in your blood system, increase your blood sugar, and can cause a whole host of issues. So many women with PCOS are insulin resistant, and it's not something that you feel all the time unless it's really, really high or really, really low. But this can be another thing that affects weight and all of these other factors that we're looking at. And how does stress, this is the last one I'm going to go through, how does stress affect my PCOS symptoms? So one of the major things that I've found with women who have PCOS, and well, women and humans in general, is that stress can really affect hormones. And I'm not going to go through this whole paragraph here, but ultimately it can affect your androgen hormones. So when we look at the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland and all of these things that regulate your hormones, the end result is a high DHEA or DHEAS, which are androgens in your body. And these can help to protect you from the negative effects of stress. And if they're dysregulated, too high or too low, the stress cycle continues and the hormonal imbalance continues as well, which is why in the PCOS group, we're definitely going to be focusing on stress management, mindful eating, mindfulness in general, and hoping to stop that cycle. So finally, our website, again, is written here on this slide if anybody wants to write it down. I am going to type to everyone in the chat. I'm going to type our website so you can just click on it. And then I am also going to put the link to the group. If anyone wants to fill out an application form, the doors are open and we start June 16th. So if you have any interest, you can always ask questions. You can send the On Point Nutrition email address on the website an email. You can email me. And also follow us on Instagram. You can message us on Instagram. We're very accessible. So I do want to put the link to the group in our chat, which I thought I had on hand, but apparently I don't. Let me just put that in here. So if everyone just wants to use this should link you. It's all in the chat right to the program page. So you can learn a little bit more about what we'll be talking about and what each session will look like. So there's both websites for everybody to take a look at. But in the meantime, I know it's 6:01 on the dot. I tried to do this in 30 minutes, though it's obviously something that we can dive into in many different aspects. Any last questions before I sign off for today? And I'll wait a couple minutes. Again, I wish I had some music to play while I wait for questions. But as long as the link's working for everybody, you'll have access to our email address. You'll have access to any information you may need about the group. And hopefully this has been a helpful 30 minutes of your week. So if I don't see questions, I'm going to stop the screen share. I feel very tech savvy today. Yes. Oh, thank you so much. Hopefully this was helpful. I know it's a bit long-winded, but thank you for joining. Thank you for learning and being open. And again, any questions, I am here to help. So have a great night, everybody. And we will see you soon.